Okay, Rand had a follow-up question to my changing the function of the cursor. He wanted to know if there was a lock feature where you could prevent that from happening. I'm not aware of any, but I thought I would take a look at it to see what was available. And I do find it kind of annoying because sometimes it does automatically switch into that selecting forward or selecting backwards. Uh, but let's take a bit deeper dive into keyboard shortcuts. Okay, so you're in here and you're doing some editing, and I just want to look at a couple of things. First of all, where can you find keyboard shortcuts to learn about them? They do speed up your editing process if you know how to use them, because you're not reaching for the mouse constantly and trying to get to some place. And you would simply click on File, and you'd go down just below Preferences. There's Keyboard Shortcuts, and oddly enough, it has its own keyboard shortcut. Control-Alt-K. Hold down the Control and Alt key and press the K key, and up comes this little panel right here. Now, one interesting feature about this is if you're a user of one of two other programs that where you use the shortcut keys, I got to learn how to say that correctly, you can actually emulate those same shortcuts in Filmora simply by clicking here and either choosing Adobe Premiere Pro or Apple Final Cut Pro. So if you were switching from one of these programs over to Filmora and you liked all your shortcut keys in those programs, by clicking on one of those, you would be changing the actual shortcut keys. But I don't use those programs, so I'm going to go back to what I'm familiar with. And I'm not going to go into all of them, but if you scroll down, you actually go through each one of these categories. And I'll tell you one that I use a lot because it places the playhead, the little red line here, exactly where you need it. And that's Shift Home and Shift End. But that's under the View section. And if you go down here, Shift Home, Shift End. If you've selected a clip and you want to start at the very first frame, you hold down the Shift key and you press the Home key, and the playhead moves there. Likewise, if you want to go to the frame just after the end of the clip, then you press Shift End. So it's a very good way to do precise location of the playhead without accidentally cutting up pieces of media into smaller pieces. But scrolling down in this thing here, I got to another part, which is horizontal scroll timeline and vertical scroll timeline. And what you're doing is you're using the scroll wheel on the mouse. And the up-down simply refers to rolling it forward or rolling it backwards. In other words, it's the direction in which you're scrolling with the scroll wheel. It's not a direction of movement. Horizontal and vertical is the direction of movement. So you can see here, I believe the default is probably this way here. Horizontal scroll is scrolling. But if you wanted to, because you have a compressed timeline and you want to scroll up to different tracks, you don't have to do anything other than hold down the Alt key and then do the scrolling wheel. Let's take a look at how that works. Okay, so when we scroll, when I'm at this point here, I'm going to use the scroll wheel on the mouse, and I'm going to roll it forward, I'm going to roll it backwards. When I'm rolling backwards, I'm moving that direction, forward, that direction. But if I hold down the Alt key on the keyboard, now I am moving up and down. And that is just one little key that I need to press down in order to activate it. So the point is, there are a lot of shortcut keys. If you learn them, if you want to take the time to learn them, you can really speed up your editing process. Now, for example, this is what I was talking about. This is the one I use all the time. I've selected something and I want to make, let's say, okay, now I'm babbling here. Let me get back to the beginning here again and use my Alt key and scroll down. Okay, let's say I want to position something right here and I don't have the magnetic key line on there, timeline. So I'm going to select that. I'm going to hold down the Shift key, press the N key, and then move the cursor right to there. Now I can, for example, easily line it up. There's other ways of doing that, but There's other reasons for doing it. You may want to, for example, if you are cropping and you're moving in on a particular subject, you want to be on the very last frame. You do Shift N and use the arrow keys to move back one frame. You're now sitting on the very last frame of this clip. You take a snapshot, and that's your freeze frame, and you add it onto there. Yes, I know there's other ways to do freeze frames, but that's not the point of this discussion. For Rand's purposes, no, there's no way to lock any one of these keys, nor have I found a way to do your own, adding your own keys in. One thing I wish that Filmora, Wondershare would build into Filmora is kind of a little macro generator. In other words, some way to store a series of keystrokes into one little file and then assign a shortcut key to that would allow you to execute those commands with just one keystroke. They don't have that feature. They don't have a lockout feature. They don't have a way of changing, other than that switch command that I just showed you. There's no way of even changing what the shortcut keys can do.